Is the development and occupational gap between London and the regions widening or narrowing? And before we kick off with our panel discussion, I'm first going to hand over to EGI Senior Analyst Graeme, who has a short presentation to deliver on office take-up trends in London versus the regions.
I suppose what we want to know really in terms of whether it's widening or narrowing is what's actually going to happen this year. So the UK cities, 2.42 million square foot let, that's up 5.27% on their 5-year average. So again, continuing that strong trend that they had in 2013. But again, London's kind of outstripped them a little bit. 6.12 million square foot let in the first half of this year. That's up nearly a third on their 5-year average. So again, a bit of a monstrous performance for London, for the UK cities to try and keep up with. If that continues throughout the rest of the year, we'll see UK cities overall take up 5.3 million square feet, a little bit of a dip from 2013, but still generally a strong performance. London may well have its best year since 2006, around 14.1 million square foot could be let across the year in London.
First question, really, I mean, panel, anything that sort of stood out as being unexpected, or was that pretty much what you would expect?
I think I come from a development perspective rather than perhaps an occupational perspective, and certainly from the development side, I think what we see would probably accord with those sort of occupational stats.
You know, central London and the diversity of the London economy is what's going to lead the UK out of trouble. It was the first to lead us in. It reacted very, very quickly, and it'll be the first to lead us out, and hence it's far more volatile than the regions. I think if you look at the wider European growth, if you look at how Europe fits within the globe, steady growth is going to impact London first and then out to the regions. So I think in terms of take-up and where demand's coming from, it doesn't really show anything particularly surprising.
Conspicuously the most successful job-creating economies in Europe over the last 15 years have been Western Germany and Southern England. And ultimately property reflects the economic inputs of the market that they inhabit. And so the micro works at two levels. One, in terms of the specific nature of the offices, as Simon described. The other is the basis of that economy.
What's being looked for and where? Both around London, outside of London?
Blimey, I suppose in London we're looking for income, we're looking for security of income, where many of our clients are still quite reticent to take on board any significant risks. Vacancies might be taken on board in certain markets, certain very, very micro sub-markets in central London. Outside of London, again, it's about income, it's about sticking to the bigger cities, it's about security of tenure, it's about diversity of the employment base, and we're looking for size outside of central London. So, you know, typically we wouldn't really look at anything sub sort of 25 or 30 million. So, you know, we have to be able to get the money away in reasonable chunks.
Given the extraordinary strength of London, what can we do to balance things up a bit? And the first and most obvious answer is, notwithstanding those that oppose high speed 2, it's an absolute empirical fact that where rail links to London are improved, then they benefit the other end of that line.
Okay, we have 1 minute left. So in 1 minute, could each of you give the sort of headline message that you'd want people to go away with today following this debate?
Building on what makes cities different and promoting what's different about cities. Yeah, employment within cities, employment structures are very different to central London, and I think building on that is pretty key.
But I suppose the other thing, just in my own little world, like birth, deaths and taxes, or whatever the expression is, no doubt there'll be another change in the planning system, which of course will, you know, maybe impact us one way or the other as well.
Great, thank you very much. I'd just like to invite everybody to thank our panel and to Graeme from EGI as well for the presentation that kicked us off. Thank you very much.